Okay, this is quite interesting. A real ID to access the internet. At the end of the day, if it's, I don't mind it that badly, but if it's purely the internet access itself, so you don't actually give your information to private companies, then it's fine, I guess, because at the end of the day, what I think is that this is inevitable. Because people, a lot of people, that are very, very toxic and think they can get away with everything, can get away with everything. That's the biggest problem here, as I see it. But let's see what Chibi has to say about this Asmongold thing. As it seems,
As a citizen of the internet, I feel like it's very important to talk about the grim and dark path that the collective internet is walking on right now, and that is real ID or forced identification just to access the internet. It is something that is becoming more and more real as the years go on by, and it is going to lead into some issues, and it's going to affect every single person that wants to use the internet. I mean, let's be honest, the internet now is very essential to day-to-day life. Just to be able to get a job, for instance, to, actually put in a job application, you actually need to have the internet. You can go to different jobs listings and stuff, and you go in there in person. They say, no, we don't give out physical papers. You got to go online, go to our site to be able to do a job application. This basically says everything that you need to know is that the internet has become very important. It is ingrained in our society.
yeah, not just that. It's also if you just want to communicate with someone or with a company or with someone you need something from. That's also the thing. You get your, even if you buy something bigger, like me personally, I buy pellet to actually hit up my house. And yes, guess what? Emails. Yeah, and if you ask yourself why a Lich needs a warm house, well, F you. That's why.
Can't really remove it anymore. It is something that is essential at this point in time. And because of just how essential the internet is, you can't actively avoid it if you really want to. Now, there is some exceptions to this. There is people within the world that can avoid it depending on where they live, depending on the country, depending on maybe their job or whatever. But for the most part, the internet is incredibly essential, at least in first world countries, in the West, in the East, and all that. It's very important. And so, with the overall looming threat of real ID or forced identification, this is going to lead to the age of being anonymous pretty much dying out. Now, there will be ways to potentially fight back against it. I'll talk about that in a second. But we need to get into the ramifications and how we got here in the first place. So this is a clip from Asmongold. I'm going to let him speak for himself real quick before I dive in and start talking about it, because I feel like he lays the groundwork down for why I'm even talking about this topic in the first place. So let's listen to him for a few seconds here.
And now these people are on the receiving end of it, and they're crying about free speech. But they were never crying about free speech from people that they disagreed with were getting banned. And so billionaires are terrified. Let's keep going. Yep, this is going to be, they got to deal with it. It's getting bad. Yep. It's getting real bad. These people are speed running internet real ID. I just hope that they understand that.
So what he means by this, internet real ID, it's something that's already kind of been put into play already with a few sites. For a good few examples, you have something like Facebook. I've encountered this one to where years ago, just to be able to relog into my Facebook account, I needed to actually give Facebook my real ID card. I needed to show them who I was, my real name and everything and address, just to prove that I was the actual person that owned the account.
Yeah. Fair enough. I didn't have this problem, to be honest, because I didn't relog to Facebook. I don't know why you would. By the way, my account got hacked, so I don't give a fuck anymore. But yeah.
Twitter is very similar to this. I mean, to be able to get the blue check mark, you need to be able to give up, like, your ID, information about yourself, your phone number, and all that, just to be able to really access Twitter Blue. So, in the grand scheme of things, we've already kind of been doing this for a while now. To be able to access certain social media sites, we have been giving up our ID. But as a whole, in terms of the collective nature of the internet, it is still not something that is fully implemented. For instance, you could still theoretically go on Google, YouTube, and everything to be able to access different sites without an ID. But if this issue keeps sprouting up and political violence keeps getting a lot worse, governments will. It's not a matter of if. they will step in, laws will be passed, and real-world identification will be put in place before you can even access your internet browser. Now, let's explain how this is relevant to those that don't care about politics. So I know there's a lot of people that legitimately don't care about politics, they don't want to listen to politics, they don't want to even be involved. That is completely fine. That is fair.
Yeah.
It's completely fine to not want to associate with it, talk about it, etc. I'm not going to fault anyone for that. However, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because it is going to lay the foundation and groundwork for what is going to happen in the future. So basically, on Reddit for a while now, Reddit has been, let's be honest here.
Oh, wait, to the point of if somebody is not politically involved. Fair enough. I agree on him. But in the end of the day, if something goes awry, don't cry about it. With voting, you literally have the chance of influencing things in your country if you're in a democratic country. And the fact and the matter is, people who vote have the power of actually deciding which people they vote in and what they will do. And if you don't want to get mixed in, I mean, I don't inform myself all the time. I just inform myself, no, okay, I'm gonna pick those and then go out for it. If you don't want to do that, perfectly fine, but don't cry wolf afterwards or, oh my god, I am so poor, this is so bad, even though you had the chance of influencing it but didn't. That's all I'm saying.
Unhinged. They've been unhinged for years, but in the last few months they have increasingly got more violent and more unhinged. Calling and advocating for violence against political officials, people that still sit in the political office, and this is not something you can do. It like Asmongold said, even in the clip and all that I showed here, he even says it himself. A call to action and violence is not associated with freedom of speech. You cannot do that. It is not covered by, the First Amendment or anything like that. You cannot say stuff like that. It is violent speech that can get you prosecuted and in a lot of trouble.
It's not just political violence, it's violence all around. If you I'm gonna be honest, if you say that you're gonna off someone, just get fucking banned. Just don't. If you're gonna say that you're going into a house of someone and gonna harm somebody, just get banned. Honestly, is this really so hard to understand? I mean, at some point, I understand freedom of speech. I am for it. But I am not for actual committing or just calling for violence against people. That's just a step too far. It's just, for F's sake, I just don't understand how, or I don't understand the arguments for purist of free speech that say, no, you have to do everything you can, blah, blah. No, you probably never got just said it on a regular basis that somebody's gonna off you. At one point, you have people that are so psychopathic in these days that actually can do it and get away with it with no repercussions. That's the worst thing. Yes, there are some people that may just threaten you, do it, and then just get away with it scot-free these days. And you know which group I mean with that one. And it's just bad. Simple as that. It's bad.
And so basically, how this is equivalent to real-world ID is that as Reddit continues to allow, for instance, their site to spiral out of control, and you have posts with 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 likes, and all it is just violent threats on the front page of government officials will notice this, and they will crack down on it.
Yes.
We already know for a fact there is quite a few content creators that have already talked about this, that goes way more in depth than I am in this video, where even Elon and stuff has become aware of the violent rhetoric on Reddit, and most likely on other sites as well. So you factor all this in, something is eventually going to be done. You're going to have it to where these government officials in power are going to use this as the opportunity to rein these sites in, or in this case, rein the internet in, to actually control it. Now, you
Yes.
can call this a conspiracy or whatever, that's completely fine, okay? But what I'm saying is that this gives the narrative or the initiative for the government to step in and try to seize control to a degree to know who you are on the internet. Because one of the strengths
Correct.
of the internet is to be anonymous. That is something that a lot of people value and love, myself included. I love it. But as a content creator, someone that actively goes online, I browser stuff all the time, I'm not really that anonymous because, I mean, I'm a content creator. But for the average Joe that doesn't have their accounts out there or their names out there, being anonymous is incredibly important. It allows you to say things, it allows you to be whatever you want to be, so to speak. You don't have to worry about consequences. But it seems like that age of not having to worry about consequences is slowly coming to an end. For instance, if...
Yes, and this is thanks to those people who actually got radicalized, got very, very hippity, and just said, yeah, I'm gonna kill this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. It was just a step above, like, too far. And for still defending it. Why? Why? Don't. Get those people shafted. If we just punish those people accordingly with a permaban or something different, this wouldn't have happened. Because they would know, okay, there are consequences for this. Now, because we let it happen so long, we also have to suffer under it.
This rhetoric from Reddit doesn't quell itself and calm down, and Reddit doesn't try to step in and fix the problem. Government officials will, it's not a matter of would or if, will step in, and they will force these people, obviously, to be prosecuted, force Reddit to, you know, cease whatever's going on here, but also they might implement actual ID to even be able to access Reddit or other sites equivalent or adjacent to it. Now, you can already see the damage here of why this is actually a scary ordeal, so let's segue into that. So basically, the reason why this is a pretty big ordeal is because there is a lot of sites, a lot of companies that, honestly, I don't trust with my information. A good recent example is Crunchyroll or Sony. Sony is a big, you know, individual that constantly gets data breaches, hacks, and their service is down for whatever reason without really much explanation whatsoever. This is something that happens commonly. And so imagine if you had to be able to access these certain sites on the internet or whatever, and you had to give them your actual ID, okay? We're talking about your actual information, your face, your name, your address, how old you are, everything about you. You give these companies your ID, and then they get hacked. Do you honestly trust these companies to keep your information safe? That doesn't even get into the other manipulation on this topic. I think everybody at this point in time knows about digital footprints and how, like, you can look up something briefly, let's say on Google, let's say you look up dog food, and then suddenly you start getting dog food ads. It's very obvious that, you know, you're being watched, or, you know, constantly your search history and stuff is being put into an algorithm. They're gathering data on you to see what they can offer you as product placement or ads on certain sites. And so what this does too with ID is that if they have your ID, they will know more about your geolocation, where you live, what stores are near you, to be able to force ads to you to make them more accurate for you're willing to actually buy something from these said sites. So it's going to be more invasion of privacy, not just on, let's say, your data or, you know, info being stolen, but also sold to other people. So you can kind of see where all this is going. It's a very dangerous future, and I'm going to be blunt, it's going to happen eventually. It might not maybe happen in our lifetime if something is cracked down on Reddit, but it's eventually going to happen. It is the inevitable. It's just only a matter of when, if the temperature is right in the environment, and if the government can finally get enough people together to be able to approve of said bill. I mean, let's look at some of the stuff that happens in, like, European countries. You have people posting memes getting arrested, okay? Now, I'm not saying if we had real-world identification, you know, let's say in the West or United States, that you would get arrested for a meme, but you would definitely face a lot more consequences, and that territory of stepping into that direction is definitely possible. It at least is closer than what it is right now. And so, like I said, it's very scary, and it seems like Reddit in general allowing to remain unchecked, unhinged like they are, it is not free speech to have violent rhetoric against people or political officials. It's not. It's not okay. It's not protected by freedom of speech. And once again, if these bad apples continue to be bad apples, then it's going to ruin everybody's time on the internet.
It already did to a certain degree. And as I said, I just think It's the fault of everyone who actually didn't show them consequences. It's yeah. The thing is, even on my channel, as open as I am with the comments that I get, some are just unhinged, or some are just pure toxic. Some are just little klugscheißer that go in, have nothing good in, and even those, I'm gonna delete them and ban them. Why? Because I have them. Simple as that. Just don't destroy the other one's fun just because you're bad at something. Don't destroy others' people's freedom just because you wanna threaten someone. It's just disgusting.
So yeah, I just wanted to call this out.
Good, fair enough. Chibi reviews as always. Yeah, and unfortunately he is freaking on point with that. Just like S1 Gold is, this will just happen. At some point this will just happen. It's inevitable. And I don't think it won't, or I think it will happen even in our lifetime. Or unlifetime. I don't want to exclude you acolytes. Or the undead under you. Because in the end of the day, this will probably, at least in European countries, I assume something like this will happen in the next 10, maybe 15 years, but that's just pure guesswork on my part, because European countries right now are going in a direction where it's more tyrannical than anything else, so yeah, control the mind and the words of the population. So with the European countries, this will happen earlier than later. Yeah, but as it is, acolytes, good night.